to sing, to dance, and I will die a musician. That's enough for me.
Philly was born on October 1951. His musical skills started as early as second grade. His brother Ab remembers Philly's curiosity and creativity at home. He says he attempted to make his own instruments and made a banjo to substitute for the guitar he couldn't quite build himself. While in high school, he joined the school choir, which was at that time meant for only girls. According to his older brother, Abby, Philly used to skip school to go play in a band at a local club where off-duty officers dined. When his parents found out, they were not happy about this. His parents, both educators, wanted all their children to excel in academics.
They didn't take it so good in the beginning because they were teachers and they wanted him to do something more than music.
At that time, music was considered a profession for the uneducated and was not the first choice career for anyone.
They supported him afterwards at the end.
And after a confrontation, Philly made a life-changing decision. In 1968, at age 17, Philly decided to leave school in order to pursue his passion, music. Without telling his family, Philly and a couple of friends sneaked out of the country and ventured into neighboring Zaire, now known as the Democratic Republic of Congo. This was home to some of the new exciting sounds from legends like Franco. His leaving school got the neighbors talking, wondering why such a brilliant student would ruin his life to roam around the clubs singing at night and embarrassing his family.
Our parents saw musicians, guitars as taboo, Nightclubs were out of bounds, things like that. So anything associated with nightclub to our parents was out. For someone's son to be a musician those days.
1969.
Jesus, it was like losing the fellow.
Even his older brother did not agree with his career move and tried for years to get him into giving it up. This eventually brought a rift between the two brothers. While in Zaire, they played in numerous clubs and became an instant hit. Their mission, however, was to reach the capital, Kinshasa, where they could get access to grand bars, and that's where the famous people like Franco had their larger recording studios. By 1971, Philly with his band Volks National had reached Kinshasa. Here, they got a chance to record music with the legend Franco's equipment.
We had a band, Renzori band. Renzori had some gigs and recordings to make in America. The Renzori group took off, and then we had to leave a second band that was called River Nile that stayed in our place. That's how Philly came to join our group.
On his return to Uganda, he joined another band with his good friend Peterson Otelli, Frank Mbalire, and under the leadership of Fred Kanyike, they went on tours to USA and Japan.
Was a good composer. He used to play drums and the trumpet, a little guitar. He used to play some guitar.
Very easy person to work with because, creative musicians are always easy to work with. It was always fun to work with Philly.
By the early 1980s, Uganda was experiencing another civil war. This one would last for 6 years. During these times, the soldiers imposed a military action known as Panda Gari, which means get onto the truck. Soldiers would strategically station their trucks in places where they knew people collected. They would then randomly load people onto these trucks. Once taken away, some were forced to join the army, and if suspected of being part of the opposition, you were killed. A lot of young men would be subjected to this random and rampant brutality. These actions restricted the musicians from playing freely at various night spots. This restriction forced many of these young musicians to look elsewhere, and they soon took off to other countries. This is how Philly and some of his friends ended up in Sweden. Upon arrival in Sweden, they found out that African music was in demand but underrepresented. With the help of Hope Mokasa, they started a new band and they called it Savannah. They all unanimously elected Philly to be their band leader. Savannah played at local clubs, private parties, weddings, cultural events. Through these events, he met Sten Sandahl. Sten was a renowned Swedish music producer and a musicologist. He helped the band secure gigs in Sweden. He's also the man responsible for managing Philly's hit album Born in Africa, which launched his solo career in 1987. At a random checkup at the doctor's, Philly was asked to take an HIV test. When the results came back, the news was devastating. He went into a depression and did not tell anyone for a long time. But eventually, he got the courage to tell his family.
When he broke the news to us, the group was devastated. Some of his friends left us, that stigma of AIDS.
The problem is that the moment that it is easily discussed that one might have AIDS, their morality is put on the table. And morality is one thing that Ugandans essentially hold dear. We are God-fearing people, and immorality is not associated with God-fearing people. The moment AIDS enters our house, it never leaves. An individual who's infected might die, but the stigma lives. And the children of that family will bear that stigma. People will whisper.
What would you say to all of us here about this stigma?
This stigma put to this infection is caused by ignorance. That's why I say that the population needs more and more education about AIDS.
It was 1987, I went back to Nairobi. And that's when he wrote to me and broke the news. And I was shocked, sad.
It was sad, it was surprising. The only thing I had to do is to support him. Because that time it was not something people would talk about so much like now. People were still lacking information about AIDS. They thought that he can give it to them. The children from the house can give it to their children. So it was a little bit hard.
The African HIV/AIDS pandemic is no longer news since other horrors have taken its place. The infection rates have significantly declined over the 20 years that HIV/AIDS has plagued the African continent. By the early 1990s, the infection rate in urban Africa was as high as 30%. Which was the highest in the world at the time. Uganda was noted to be the AIDS capital by 1990. And this perhaps because it was the first African nation to publicly address the AIDS epidemic.
In the US, you had the Rock Hudson has come out. Many other people who have had the disease came out to talk about it. In Uganda, we have not been fortunate. In fact, on the African scene, we have not been that fortunate to get prominent people to talk about the disease at all in a personal way.
Philly Lutaya was the first Ugandan to publicly declare that he was HIV positive.
Most people here, when they realize they have run into this sort of problem, the AIDS disease is taken as a harsh matter. When you catch it, you should withdraw from public eyes, and eventually you disappear, you die quietly in some remote corner of some village place.
I was very much afraid. I knew I was in big trouble. I thought about my future, my past, and I felt so alone. I decided to come out if it is possible for me to launch a campaign, a crusade against AIDS, whereby some my fellow human beings who might be saved. AIDS is here, but people wanted always to ignore it and pretend as if it was not here.
The time he had on earth, he wanted to spend it responsibly.
So I wanted to go on shouting loud about this crisis. I ignored people who were calling me a liar, people who were calling me an opportunist. I knew time would come when they would understand.
My brother accepted it, and he was very strong about it. I think that was the correct thing to do because he wanted everybody to know from him, not from rumors. It gave him peace.
A lot of families were confused. They didn't know what this new disease was. So when a new disease came out, where there was no information about it, they were caught between their own safety and the love to take care of their relatives.
Most of his friends deserted him. They didn't want to go to his house. If he gives them a drink on, let me say, on a glass at his home, they didn't want to because they thought they would get the disease.
And of course, personal safety always came first. And some of them sacrificed their dignities in abandoning their relatives for their own safety.
People who had AIDS, they weren't as loved because people were ashamed of it. But when Philly came out and talked about it, I believe that people became more loving to their friends and family members and loved ones who had AIDS.
Philly was shocked and frazzled by the hostile environment.
I personally knew that Philly wouldn't lie. He would have left music if he wanted to make money. And I know we were together. We used to go without food 1 day, 2 days. But he never left music for money.
Philly enlisted the help of the Swedish and Ugandan Red Cross and gathered a team to follow him on his journey as he went across Uganda to tell the people about the HIV/AIDS virus.
The openness with which the Ugandan government has approached the whole AIDS problem also brought about a lot of abuse of that hospitality, that openness by foreign press who came in here and tore the place apart in terms of Uganda is the AIDS capital of the world or of Africa. So all Ugandans have AIDS. Ugandans going out of the country have been subjected to all kinds of humiliation.
Upon arrival in Uganda, they were soon to find out that the government of Uganda had withdrawn permission for them to film.
I think his story is relevant and is timeless, and that's part of why I was attracted to it in the first place. And I'm from Botswana, a country that has the highest prevalence of HIV/AIDS. So his story, even though it's from the 80s, is very relevant in my country and throughout the world. The message of the piece is that important and that timeless.
Here is
Blues, led by Canary Woodshop, first at the main points. Renowned Ugandan musician Philly Bongoley Lutaaya is back home. Lutaya is next project to launch his latest album entitled Alone and Frightened, in which he calls for a collective struggle against AIDS in order to protect those not yet affected.
This caused a national outrage. Sir, I was dismayed to read in your paper, The New Vision of August 17, that the Ministry of Health has blocked the production of Philly Lutaaya's film about AIDS. Surely, every sane Ugandan can see that Lutaaya's bravery in admitting his predicament and his readiness to share with us while contributing as much as he can to the AIDS control program is a very positive gesture towards his motherland and to the world.
Having been barred from being filmed in Uganda had made me more depressed, and I was down, but I really don't feel that the people of Uganda could do that to me. But this is one of the things which happen to us small people. We are frustrated always by the big ones.
What I got out of the journey of chronicling this man's life, I think it shows how one man stood up for what he believed in, and despite all the odds that he faced and the stigma, and still managed to have such a profound impact on his people, something that the government could not have done, something that an NGO could not have done, but one man believed in it.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's ceremony centers on Ugandan musician Philly Bongoley Lutaaya. Lutaya declared in April of this year that he is an AIDS victim.
Before Philly, nobody could come out and say I'm sick or something. And if people knew that you're sick, then you'd be cut off completely.
I want to welcome all our visitors to Gayaza High School. We are the oldest girls' school in Uganda. I'm proud of it, but particularly today we want to welcome Mr. Philly Lutaaya. We are so grateful that he has given up this time to come and share with us and allow us to sing along with him. Mr. Lutaaya, you are very welcome to Gayaza High School.
I wish I was just on an ordinary visit here, as I used to come and visit my sister here some years ago. But today I have come to stand before you as a living example of an AIDS victim. This is serious. I never wanted this to happen to me. So, straightforward, I would like to tell you that I would not like this to happen to you, to any of you. The message I would like to give to you is that let us do our best to have a virus-free young generation. It's easy to avoid getting the virus. I beseech you that please be careful in the way you handle yourself. We need you.
It was a courageous move from this young man who has struggled a good number of years to develop a respectable musical career.
His songs spoke to a lot of people. He described his emotional experience of isolation and pain through his song Alone, in which he urged people not to abandon AIDS victims.
A lot of people that I know, a lot of people that are close to me, family, friends, and just people that I know have died from AIDS. But none of them that I know have had the courage of Mr. Lutaya to actually come out and publicly declare it. So that is part of why the story was close to my heart also, because I know what it's like to lose someone to AIDS. I can identify with it on a personal level.
In my condition, the recording session nearly killed me. But I couldn't let up because a loan had to be completed as my legacy to Uganda and the world.
It was sad around us, but he was very strong towards us, and he told us not to be sad about it. He said the only thing we have to do is to give him support and to go on with life.
I thought when I saw him a couple of weeks ago that he should never be able to stand on his feet and legs again.
I'm a strong man. I don't believe in being weak or anything. When I decide to do something, I decide to do it.
But I feel I'm getting my strength back.
Yeah.
And I'm, of course, I'm excited. And I'm going to Uganda.
Yeah, you have to. I wouldn't dare to talk about the prognosis in terms of months or years with Philly, because he has proven that he can live much longer than we thought from the beginning.
Mentally, I just feel the same. I'm the same man, the same thoughts, and even creating even new songs right now.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was completely determined to finish that record. Yes, because after that, I think it came out, so people started accepting that someone can be sick. Anyone can be sick with that kind of disease.
Out there somewhere, alone and frightened. Oh, the darkness, the days are long. Life in hiding, now more making new contacts. No more loving arms thrown around my neck.
Take my hand now. I'm tired and lonely. Give me love, give me hope. Don't desert me, don't reject me. All I need is love and understanding.
Today it's me, tomorrow someone else. It's me and you, we gotta stand up and fight. We'll share a light in the fight against hate. Let's come on out, let's come together, fight hate. In times of joy, in times of sorrow, let's take a stand and fight on to the end. With open hearts, let's stand up and speak out to the world. We'll save some lives, save the children of the world.
Philly Lutaya helped to diffuse a climate of fear and the stigmatization that is attached to having AIDS. The impact of Lutaya's self-titled track alone was immediate and powerful. Every Ugandan knew the lyrics by heart, and the victims could identify with what he was saying.
It was one of the hardest songs for me to listen to, and it still is, because I think he was meaning that most of his friends deserted him. That's what he was singing about.
This was a moment when music became a significant tool in the help and fight to educate people about AIDS.
As I told you before, that I fell victim in 1987. And since then, I've been with Tasso, and I'm very happy with them. They are taking care of me. I'm very happy to meet you for the first time, and I pray very much to God that He keeps you alive and fit. Thank you very much, Philly.
Alone address this problem.
Most of the people who have seen Philly, they quite agree, yes, they have AIDS. Although I've met fellows in the crowds, who still doubt, and they say, look, haven't you seen Yul Brynner? Actor without hair. Philly's hair is like that. It's deliberate. It's been bleached or, whatever it is. After he goes back to Sweden, 2 months, the hair will grow back and the fellow has earned his money.
The truth about AIDS was concealed, one of the reasons being that openly discussing sex was a taboo in the Ugandan culture. But Lutaya was very open when he spoke to people and disclosed that HIV/AIDS was transmitted predominantly through sexual contact.
I've got no secrets. I've got nothing to hide. So I speak out whatever I feel that will help someone else. That's how I was brought up. I never go into trouble by speaking the truth. So I've kept it that way.
His open discussions were not welcomed by everybody. The churches and mosques had a very reactionary view. Some priests argued that HIV was God's punishment for sinners. One man, Bishop Kauma, went against his peers and did something exceptional. He invited Lutaya to sing in the cathedral alongside the choir and talk to the people.
I'm proud of you. Yeah, thank you very much. May the Lord give you the strength you need.
He adapted Philly Lutaaya's song to Musinze from his Christmas album as an unofficial hymn for the church.
In Uganda, 50% of the AIDS victims are women. Women in Uganda, in Africa, must join the battle against AIDS.
The poverty in Uganda makes people forget about it because most of women, they depend on men, so they can't do anything about it. Men go out and do what they have to do, and they mess up everything. So women don't have so much voice to control their husbands or their boyfriends.
When we talk about the battle against AIDS, we must forget blame. Blame is not productive.
With our culture, which we are trying to change, women have in the past been very submissive to their husbands. You don't know who your husband has been with. He comes, you just have to accept whatever he tells you to do. An enlightened woman knows that her husband has been unfaithful. She'll do everything possible not to have anything to do with him until both of them are checked.
If you don't work hard, the human race is going to die.
At the end of his tour, you could see that Philly was exhausted, but he was still struggling to make sure that his point went home.
It was my wish that for the rest of the time I have left, I'll try to speak to people whenever I can, whenever I have any strength.
His doctors in Sweden advised him to go back for further treatment. At this time, he was happy to leave because he knew that he had achieved his mission.
When I see my fellow victims, it's just like looking at myself. I know they have gone through things I've gone through. Unluckily, no one has ever told us
what experience it is to die. But if you know that you're going to die, why not brood so much? Of course, you regret the friends you're leaving behind, this life, I mean, the material things in the world, but you cannot just put on a sad mask and say that I'm going to die. No, that's my opinion. I would try to live a happy life as much as possible.
Said, look here, if you can ask my friends, tell everybody, let them not pity me, okay? Let us be friends. When we go to a party, let's drink and enjoy ourselves in the short time we have.
With the Philly, it's very difficult to cry, you know. Even now at home, he's sick, he has pain in the leg, but he still comes and gives you just one line of a joke and you feel good, you know. You feel ashamed to kind of feel sad in his face because he's not.
In one way, it was the best birthday I ever had in my life. I was in company with so many friends whom I had not seen for a long time. Myself, I was a little sad because sad and happy for I had not known whether I would make it to be 38. I've been sick, seriously sick on and off. And yet, well, I made it. I became 38 years old. And, well, I kept thinking, am I going to celebrate another birthday?
Yangi kambie,